Any countdown. All right. Welcome everyone to the IB Me UBU show. I'm your host, Antoine Valentin, and joining me today are two very special guests, new friends, Stacey and Shane Stowell. Did I pronounce that correctly? Stowell or
Yep.
Stowell?
Yep.
Stowell, who I met at Pepperdine Waves Weekend earlier this fall, where it was a pleasure getting to know you guys. Super excited to reconnect with you virtually and learn a little bit more about what you are doing, both professionally and personally. You're both co-founders of Stowell Leadership Group, so I want to learn more about what that is, what you guys are specializing in, and obviously the dynamic where you're a married couple now for I think about 20 years. Is that right?
Yeah, almost.
Be 25.
Okay.
25
Okay.
years. Yeah.
It's coming up.
So 25 years, congratulations. That's a big one. And of course, working together. And children, three, I think I remember.
Yeah.
Great memory.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, thank you. I pay attention when
Yeah.
people talk. So awesome. Let me begin. Well, first of all, is there anything that I didn't remember about you that you think is important for viewers to know?
Oh, goodness. I mean, gosh, I don't know. Is there anything to
Uh,
that?
just that I think you covered the highlights that we've been working together for about 4 years now and married for 25. All right, we have an older son who's 21 and twin daughters, which are 19. They're all in college. So I think that
Okay.
puts an interesting place in our lives as well.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then I guess I will add what I should have mentioned is you have a background in clinical psychology, Shane.
I do.
So again, that's interesting, and again, I want to dig more into that. And Stacey, obviously, we share Pepperdine Masters in Management and Leadership as something we have in common.
Yeah.
Um, so why don't we begin there? Because when actually I first met you, Stacey, was virtually when you presented during MSML Champions, the monthly series where alumni present. And I really enjoyed your presentation about loneliness. So can you talk a little bit about, just give a summary here of what that was and why you chose that subject?
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting because Meredith White, who, runs, kind of heads up that organization, the MSML Champions, she asked early on if I'd be interested in speaking. And I know you spoke as well, Antoine. And I started thinking about it over several months. And then the idea of loneliness is something that's always intrigued me. I grew up, our family, and I won't go into it, had a really traumatic thing happen to them. And it caused us all to kind of shut down, and including myself. And so we kind of withdrew from the world. And so this idea of isolation and loneliness really resonates with me because I've been through it. I've seen my family go through it, my parents. And what does that do long term? What does that do to somebody socially, like health wise, and why do people do that? Is it only through a traumatic event? And so when I was researching it and coming across these different tidbits of information, and over the course of like several years ago, I've been running into different things like bowling alone, and well, Netflix documentary, Join or Die, based on the book Bowling Alone. And then also the Surgeon General's advisory that came out in 2023 about the epidemic of loneliness. And then there was something else. And recently in HBR, there was the article of Mattering. And so I felt like all of those kind of touched on this loneliness issue. And of course, when we're in working together, it's a topic that often comes up as well. So it's something that kind of became near and dear to my heart. And as our kids have grown older, I've noticed the connection between kids is not the same as when Shane and I were growing up. Going over to someone's house and knocking on their door early in the morning and then playing all day and then going home in the evening and you've had this amazing day. It's not happening anymore. And I actually pulled up those statistics that
Okay.
I think it's about, let's see, from ages 15 to 24, they did it in 2020. The decline, they've decreased in face-to-face time getting together, and it's decreased from approximately 150 minutes daily in 2023, sorry, to 40 minutes in 2020. So that's a 70% drop. And then COVID has just exacerbated it even more. And so it's a fascinating subject, and I think it's something that we're not talking enough about.
Okay.
So hopefully that kind of answers that question. And I know I could probably talk on it for hours, but
yeah. And I think I would add to that. I think anecdotally, in the work that we do with senior executives and even in the work that I have done in private practice at some point, it's amazing that people can be around hundreds of people all the time and still feel like they are not seen, they're not heard, they have no place. They can be sitting, somewhere and have no connections and not know how to make them. And I think it's having a pretty significant impact on the well-being and trajectory of this generation.
So I agree with you. I've heard a lot of this, both on social media and legacy news, and also just as a people manager in the workplace, I've observed. Um, you mentioned some of the factors that can cause this. Obviously, it can happen within the home. It can happen, you mentioned because of COVID, there was forced lockdowns and 6 feet separation and masking. What impact do you think technology has on the current state of affairs of loneliness? Or do you think there's some other factors perhaps that are contributing?
oh yeah, it's huge. So I love this idea that I came across. It's called evolutionary mismatch. And I found this great article in a psychology-based journal. And what it's saying is that our technology has progressed so quickly and on our world, because we live in this instantaneous world of Amazon, instant 2-day shipping and 24-hour news, but then we're also constantly scrolling on our phones and meetings all the time. We work with so many people who don't know how to disconnect from when they take time off from work. We just got back from a team session where they were literally saying, "Oh, I'm going on vacation, but I have to work while I'm on vacation." And so technology, I think, while it's great and wonderful and has made our lives somewhat easier, I think it's also exacerbated the problem because we haven't evolved to be able to handle a lot of that stress. I mean, our nervous systems cannot take the 24-hour news cycle of constantly being inundated by this is what's happening, across the world, and what are you going to do about it? And the social media of perfection, and how can I measure up? And so I think we're seeing that play out on a lot of people and their mental health as well. And I mean, would you add anything on that psychological?
I think that's spot on. And I think there's, other factors that are linked to that and tied to that, and that we see I coach executives around all the time. I'm amazed at how many executives I have to stop and say, look, if you don't slow down and create space for yourself to think, and if you're just constantly going from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, you're missing out on an important component of your role. And white space and thinking time is working time as well. And I think that's a hard concept because we've overscheduled ourselves. We overschedule our kids. We are always trying to have the next greatest, biggest thing that we're driving towards, because that's what our world and we've come to know success is how you continue to work yourself up that ladder, wherever that is. And I think we've missed out on just the ability to stop and to pause. One of my favorite sayings, my dad was a band director growing up, and I'm a musician kind of by default because of that. But I remember sitting in a master class with a player one day, and he said, what's the most important part of the music? And there was a bunch of people that raised their hands and gave a whole host of answers, the phrasing, the emotion, the notes, the technique. And he stopped and he said, actually, it's the space between the notes. If you don't have any space between the notes, you have no differentiation, you have no melody, you just have nothing but chaos. And I thought that was a really kind of profound way of seeing the world and thinking about how do we do that for ourselves as well. And I think technology and this idea of evolutionary mismatch that Stacey's talking about, we have to create some space for us to catch up with what's bombarding us.
Yeah. And I want to just add the natural response to being overwhelmed and bombarded. Mm-hmm. People do say, I'm tired, I'm burned out, I can't handle it, I go home and I just crash. And then it's this natural tendency to just push away and isolate. And so people are missing out on those human interactions and connections because they're overwhelmed and it's too much.
So in some ways, technology has made us more connected.
Yeah.
On a global basis, where we can hear and see people on the other side of the globe. We have information, unlimited information now, 24/7. But the irony of it is that in some ways it's dehumanized us, where we have more of a connection with our device or technology than we do with the human sitting next to us.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we've built a relationship with our device, not a relationship with somebody else that we can build intimacy with.
Which really is an interesting thing because of the AI stuff coming up and how people are using that in place of a real human connection and interaction. And even they're talking about AI toys and how AI toys are influencing children and on the news, where were we at in Mississippi? They were talking about a bear that has AI capability, and the bear is influencing a child to light a match or self-harm. And I'm thinking, oh, what happened to Lincoln Logs? Let's just get some building blocks out or something, because let's just have some creativity and not the AI stuff. Because right now it's starting to kind of scare me that we're kind of erasing this important piece of connection.
And I don't think the answer is to get rid of it, because I think you're right, Antoine. I think the way you said that is really insightful. It's like it can be an incredible connection tool. We have friendships and relationships today that we wouldn't have had any other way, right? Like the fact that we can do this is pretty amazing. And yet I'm not sure we know and understand how to use it as a tool to help us fully. And that's where I think we have to stop and create some space to figure out how we want it to be in our lives, to help us, but not disconnect us.
So I'm pro-human. Maybe I'm old school that way. I'm all about the human connection, and I will admit I do use technology, and it is helpful in many ways. But certainly, I try to limit my exposure and my use, and try to have these types of interactions, like when we met in person, and this is the next best thing, where we can see each other at least, although we're not in the same room. So, like you, I'm married for 24 years, together with my wife for 27
Yeah.
years.
Oh, fabulous.
And and I know that being in a healthy relationship with another human being, not a device, was great for me. And I think we're better together. And I'm very curious because I have children like you do, a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old in sort of when you talk about loneliness, dating, what are their prospects for um, uh, hopefully meeting a mate and eventually getting married and having children as well, which I think is one of our greatest callings as human beings.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
So I've heard some very interesting sort of tidbits, and I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I'm hearing that uh, women and men are not dating as much. They don't seem as interested in relationships, let alone marriages or even having children, feeling that maybe career is more important and that stopping to have a family would somehow prevent them from achieving their career goals. So I wanted to just sort of explore that um, and get your perspectives, both as parents and again with the work you've done with maybe some leaders and just your observations regarding the psychology around it. So, as an example, um, first and foremost, I don't know if what I'm hearing is correct, true, or maybe a narrative or propaganda almost. Uh, uh, that does not accurately reflect what's happening in the real world, right? Um, and I hear things like earlier this year in the summer, I heard this. My wife told me about this thing on TikTok, I guess, where they would survey women and ask if you were on a hike, would you feel safer coming across a bear or a man? And apparently, the majority of women surveyed said they would rather meet a bear. And when I heard that, I was like, huh? I was like, how is that possible? I was like, I was trying to rationalize it like, no, if a bear wants to harm you, you're pretty much there's like no chance. Like whereas with a human, yeah, while there's a risk they might want to harm you, a human male, I think you'd have better odds against a human male versus a bear. And then I was thinking like I personally, and maybe it's just a self-awareness thing, would have felt awful if someone saw me and thought, "Oh, that's a scary man. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to avoid that person." And then I spoke to some female friends that told me, "Yeah, they are constantly in fear. They're fearful when they walk to their cars. They're fearful, going grocery shopping that something might happen to them." So anyway, it's kind of a mouthful, but just curious, what are you hearing? What are you seeing about this dynamic and the effect it has again on loneliness and the inability for men and women to connect on a deeper level because there's this sort of um, there's these dynamics in place where maybe men are afraid to approach because they might be threatening in some way or or misunderstood as far as their
Yeah,
intentions.
yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, I
I'll
do.
let
You want me to do
go,
it?
you take this one first.
Okay, so the whole bear thing, the whole bear scenario, I totally get it. Um, I've been assaulted multiple times in my life by men, and so I think a man is unpredictable, a bear is. And so I get why someone would rather meet a bear because at least it's predictable and they know what the bear is going to do. Like if the bear is going to attack or come at them, it's like one of two things. They're going to leave them alone or attack. A man, it's like, who knows what's going to happen, especially as a survivor of assault. And so I think as I've been out in the world, I mean, I'm 45 years old, and listening to other women's stories, it's very rare to come across another female and have them not say, "Oh, I've been assaulted too." And I think it's signaling something in our society that what's happening, what's going on. And it kind of makes me wonder too, like, why has it gotten to this place? And is someone else teaching our kids values that maybe aren't good, or reinforcing behaviors that aren't good and not, I mean, what happened to the goodness? Which I still believe there's a lot of goodness and there's a lot of amazing people and things out there. People are doing amazing work. But I also know that overcoming those things as a female is really difficult and hard, and it puts somebody in a place of isolation as well. And as far as dating, seeing it for our kids, I mean, I've had my son tell me, if I go up to a girl and just say, hey, I think you're cute. Do you want to go get something, a bite to eat? He's told me I can't do that because girls will think I'm a pervert. And it's just this weird dynamic now where they have to ask out on social media, like slide into someone's DMs on Instagram, or somehow find out what their number is and text. And otherwise they may come across as a pedophile. And then there's this other piece, this is so complex. Then there's this other piece of this extreme view of feminism, and where we don't allow men to be who they are. And I mean, I think men are naturally caregivers and they want to be able to take care of those that they love. And so this extreme feminism, I think, too, has killed that. We were traveling in an airport and there was a guy that allowed me to get on the elevator before everybody else. And I was taken aback because I'm thinking, I don't remember the last time, besides Shane, that someone's done that. A stranger, a complete stranger. And it was so cute and it was so endearing and I loved it. But we've kind of lost this old fashioned, what do they call it? Chivalry.
Yeah.
Yes. And what's happened to it? We've killed it and knocked it down. So I threw out a bunch of ideas and messy thoughts, but that's kind of what started popping in my head.
Yeah, I think that's well said, and I get that. And again, kind of in the clinical world, you see that's a response. Those are protective mechanisms, like for someone in Stacey's circumstance who's that's happened. Talking to our girls, and other women, they are very often thoughtful and mindful about, walking alone, being out in the dark, what's going on around them as they're walking from the grocery store to their car, like things that oftentimes I never thought about until I heard that's the life that women often live. I don't know, I don't want to say everyone, but I think it's more normal than not. And then I think there's this whole other layer of complexity that Stacey articulated really well. And these other factors around we as a society have lost the ability to kind of see each other in a good light, to have civil disagreement, to have differences of opinion. We've polarized ourselves in so many ways. And then you layer on again the complexity of the technology and what that's doing to kind of create a mechanism for people to avoid finding out how to build a relationship, right? The asking out on DMs, or there's a connectivity and a skill set that's built from having to learn to ask somebody out and the awkwardness that goes with that. And I think there's a lot of things that you can learn from those moments that I think are skills that are being pushed aside because of the discomfort and because of this inherent tension that seems to be there right now. And I don't know what the solution is. But I'm with you, though. I thought the way you said it, you're for humans. I am too. And I think that I think the solution resides back in the human connection and the human relationship, and finding out how to build that differently again.
Yeah, there's so much that I want to sort of double click on there. But Stacey, your experience where it sounded like a gentleman held the door open for you to let you get on the elevator. Again, I think an act of chivalry. But sadly, um, with the feminist movement, some uh, uh, people interpret that as I don't need you to hold the door open for me. I can do it myself. I'm not less than. So it does cause some. I could see where it's challenging
Yes.
for a man to know what is the right thing to do. Because on the one hand, your instinct is, if you're a gentleman, to open the door for a lady, or um, but then you have to second guess yourself. Oh no, this might be interpreted as in an insulting way. So do I not do it?
Yeah.
And then, so it is very, very difficult. So I can see why, again, there's potentially, it's already scary to try to approach someone.
Yeah.
And then if you take that risk, it could be misunderstood,
Yes.
and it could actually end up leading to a worse experience. So what I wanted to touch upon is the whole concept of toxic masculinity. So that's another
Oh, yeah.
phrase that I heard a lot about, and I don't, and I didn't check. I don't think it's in the Webster's dictionary, and I didn't use ChatGPT, but I don't know what is the official definition of that. I think I know what it means, but I'm not sure. So have you guys heard this? Have you guys have any opinions on what it is?
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I don't,
You-
you talk about it.
Well,
Go for it.
I mean, again, I think there's a lot of, it's definitely out there, and it's definitely a real conceptual experience that everybody hears and is trying to make sense of. The way, when I hear it and when I think about it and when I hear people talk about it, to me, it comes with this undertone of violence and control, and trying to manipulate for your own gain. And I think it's interesting that we have ascribed that to masculinity, as opposed to just kind of good human behavior, or poor human behavior. And then you layer it on with all this other stuff that we're talking about. And what does that mean for a relationship? What does that mean for a woman if that's her view of a man? What does that mean for a man if that's the way he thinks all women view him? And how do you ever find a way to come together and build meaningful relationships that are built on kind of care, compassion, and a shared desire to do something great in the world and support each other in doing something great in the world? So I think there's a whole lot to that the way we label it, I think, is perpetuating problems. And I don't think it's solving the underlying issues that lead to that experience for people.
Yeah.
Stacey, anything you want to add?
Yeah. Just thinking about it. It's so fascinating because we've had so many pendulum swings in different directions. And at the end of the day, we need everyone. We need men, we need women, we need all races, we need everybody to come and be a part of, and not be excluding anybody. And I think the tendency is to always try to pinpoint, oh, well, they don't fit in, or they're the problem, and try to isolate a group or certain individuals. And I know at least recently it's been like the white man has kind of taken this backseat too, of, well, he's kind of created a lot of problems. Yeah, there's been some problems, but I just don't think the solution is to isolate one group of people or somebody because of who they are. And just because I think we need to look at, like Shane said, individuals and their behavior and not ascribe it to a gender or a race, or someone's orientation or how they show up, because I think we try to broaden somebody else doing something wrong to an entire group of people. And I just think we've got to stop doing that. And there was one other thing, but because I'm old, I've totally lost it. So
It'll come back to you, and you're not old. It happens to everybody. Um, I want to be respectful of your time. Again, I know it's later on a Friday afternoon. It's the week before Thanksgiving. Can you guys just talk to me a little bit about your consultants group and what you guys are specializing in? I think you're coming up on your 4-year anniversary of doing this together as a team. Can you just talk a little bit about that? And so anyone that's watching that might be interested in learning more.
yeah, for sure. So we have a leadership advisory group firm where we do coaching, consulting, assessment, team sessions with Fortune 500 companies, organizations. And we really focus on culture and behaviors that are exhibiting within a company, and helping them really get along and working better together. Oftentimes when senior executives are hired, it costs a lot of money to make sure that they stay, and making sure that that's a good fit. It's important to make sure that's a good fit. And so how they work together, how they talk together, and then how they accomplish the things that they want to accomplish, it matters. And a big part of it is creating good relationships and really leveraging the collective wisdom of everybody in that room. Would you add
Yeah.
anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. A lot of our work is with Fortune 500s, but we do a lot kind of with high growth startups and private equity groups, and we've done a little bit of everything in just about every industry, with really that focus on, you know, how to help senior executives come together and leverage the best of each other, and that can happen. You know, when new executives are coming together, it can happen if things aren't going well. We are not afraid. We know things are messy, and we know really smart people who are ambitious can bring a lot of octane into a room. And how do you kind of channel that and get all the afterburners firing at the same time can lead to amazing things. And that's kind of what we spend most of our time trying to help senior leaders and senior teams figure out.
That's great. I love that. I really want to thank you both for taking the time out to chat with me. Definitely an opportunity for me to learn a lot. I'm sure anyone watching will also benefit from the knowledge and information you shared. I'll put links to your LinkedIn profile and to your website in the meeting notes. But yeah, this has been wonderful. I want to thank you again, and I hope we can keep in touch and continue the conversation.
Definitely. We look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Antoine.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks.